This is Tracie Perkins with YO4 News, and I'm sitting here with Commissioner Kolb, who's also the liaison to Memorial Hospital of Sweetwater County. Thanks for speaking with me today.
Well, thank you for having me.
Our purpose here today is really to address, there's a letter that we recently received from former board members of Memorial Hospital of Sweetwater County Board of Trustees, Artis Kalivas and Carmody, who were recently removed from the board by the Board of County Commissioners on Tuesday. So this is really just to address some of the letter and what was said in it. I guess let's just jump right into it. It begins, "Dear citizens of Sweetwater County and the patrons of Memorial Hospital of Sweetwater County, statute reads that hospital board members may be removed for cause, but are then entitled to a public hearing. We both have decided not to ask for a hearing after the county commissioners removed us from the county hospital board on Tuesday. Although we feel we would be successful in such a hearing, we believe a fair hearing before the commissioners who removed us would be fruitless." What is your response to that?
Well, I wish to clarify a few things here. First off, the statute reads you could be removed for just cause, and the just cause is considered by the Board of County Commissioners, and it's not a contractual term. It's a term that relates to what are the reasons why you propose to do this, because the elected people of the Board of County Commissioners do have control over the appointment of people on the board and also control over the removal if just cause is thought to be needed to be used for the removal process. So they decided to ask. They didn't want to ask for the hearing. Now, let's just say they have the right to have a hearing if they so request. The statutes do not speak of any other fact besides that. So they can come in and have a hearing and explain potentially their point of view if they feel like their point of view has not been expressed. And then as a board member in the board itself would then go through a process of explaining the reasons why there was just cause. And it really amounts to more detail than was spoken about in the meeting as stated for the reasons of removal for just cause. It basically has more information about why. It, however, indicates, or I think anticipates, no change of the removal. There's nothing in there that speaks of that in statutes. It merely just says you have a right to come in the public and know more about the reasons why you were removed, and then you have a right to elaborate on that if you choose to. But there's by no means any anticipation of a change of the removal. And a fair hearing, the fair hearing is only decided by the Board of County Commissioners. The reasons why they were removed are still there. And the fair hearing part comes in that you have allowed the board, ex-board members at this point, of trustees, to come in and hear more precisely why they were removed, and that's the long and short of it. And the statement about being fruitless, well, I believe that's probably the most likely outcome of that, unless they could come up with something that's different than what we had heard before and could articulate that. But they're really required to have a right to speak if they wish to.
Okay. It continues, "We both have worked very hard on the hospital board and are dismayed that the commissioners have elected to place the perceived problems at the hospital at the feet of the hospital board. They see the main problem as financial, but please know the hospital still has approximately $25 million in the bank and could operate with absolutely no income an additional 90 days. The hospital is not in a financial crisis."
Well, let's talk about this. I don't disagree that our past board members had good intentions. I don't disagree that they weren't working for the best interests of the county and the people in our county. I have no disagreement with that. I believe they had good intentions. They're honorable people that were serving this board in a voluntary capacity, and believe me, this board does take a lot of time and effort and thought to deal with it. Now let's talk about the perceived problems in the hospital. No, the problems in the hospital are purely financial. When it comes to I think the oversight level that the Board of County Commissioners look at, There were other issues about responsibilities, job responsibilities, and lack of dealing with those. The Board of County Commissioners deals directly with the Board of Trustees. The Board of Trustees deals directly with the CEO. And there is a chain of hierarchy. I believe I am within my rights to have conversations and collaboration with the Board of Trustees as trying to work together. And really the main point was financial. That is very true. Now let's talk about this. They have approximately $25 million in the bank. Well, I don't know what kind of money they're counting, but last count that I figure, and I did the math, they actually have $20,578,400 is what's called the monies that you're allowed to use for days cash on hand consideration. And that's really the lot of money we're talking about. Now, let's talk about the days cash on hand. They have a floor limit of 75 days as per the bond covenants. And that money is at 75 days, kind of like as collateral is for a loan that you may have. And the bond holders and the issuance of the bonds had agreements that said you're going to maintain this for a reserve for the debt you owe, which is $26 million they owe in this bond issuance debt. So obviously at the first blush, $20 million is underneath that. Now, let's talk about the floor and where the difference between where they're at and where the floor is. It's 13.7 days, or $3,178,400. That's the difference between where they're at and where 75 days is. So the amount of money they have before that financial crisis happens and they get literally taken over by the people that have issued the bonds to make sure the bond covenants, the bond guarantees are maintained. And at that point, those folks will come into our community. They will make any decisions they feel necessary to get the days cash on hand up above 75 days. So zero isn't zero. Zero is 75 days. And that indeed is the problem. So they are in a financial crisis. It is absolutely clear. And this whole thing is backed up by Will Douglas of Wells Fargo, which is out of Denver. And he was part of the team that was involved with the bond issuance on the bank side of things. So he wrote us a letter saying there was a crisis. So, these experts that sent us a letter, that letter was taken seriously. And when you look at the declining days cash on hand from 232 days as a high to 88.7 days today, it is alarming that it's been allowed to slide, and it's a trend, not a blip, not a dip. It's a trend, and that indeed was the fiscal issue with the hospital. So I disagree with this. It's not a problem because we have 90 days till we don't have any money. Really? No, you have 75 days until you get taken over. And that's the issue that I see here with this. So I absolutely don't agree with that. I think it's inaccurate to portray that to people. It gives people the wrong idea. And thank you.
And before we continue with the letter, I do think it's important to ask, are you representing the commission or are you representing yourself in these statements?
I'll represent the commission's point of view on what I've just spoken about. Anything personal, I have to only represent myself. But if it's something that the Board of County Commissioners already decided and we've talked about in a public meeting and have a point of view, I will express that. I'll be very particular about this because anything to do with me personally is obviously not the Board of County Commissioners speaking. It's John Kolb, County Commissioner, speaking.
Okay, just wanted some clarification there.
Appreciate that.
Moving on to the next section. Over the past 2 years, Commissioner John Kolb, hospital liaison, has made attempts to bully not only the board but also hospital employees. Kolb led the charge against former board member Dr. Tom Spicer when the commissioners chose not to reappoint a well-respected member of this community when his term expired. We all lost on that move as Dr. Spicer brought a wealth of knowledge to the board.
Well, first off, Commissioner Kolb has just been a liaison for 1 year and 2 months, not over the past 2 years. Secondarily, this year I was reappointed as liaison for the County Memorial Hospital unanimously by my board. So that was board action. And then Commissioner Kolb, let me reassure you, myself has never bullied anybody. I'm sorry if I may have a voice the way I have, but there's been never an attempt to bully a person into doing something. I mean, that is absolutely preposterous. Those accusations came from Mr. Klein when I came in to the hospital as directed by the Board of County Commissioners to get Mr. Klein's contract. That first request was not fulfilled. As a matter of fact, it was received with a request to pay money for the documents for Mr. Klein's contract. Well, that didn't go anywhere. So Commissioner Kolb came in on behalf of the Board of County Commissioners once again, asked could I have the information that I requested in the past. I then was told, well, they weren't sure where that request went to. I go, fine, then I'll re-request it. And, thank you, have a nice day. I'll tell you what I've learned about that. I will record any interactions that I have in the future, because it was an absolute misrepresentation. And I might add, none of these board members that are speaking in this letter were there to hear any of this. It is all hearsay and circumstance, and I think it's a misrepresentation of what was said. Now, getting on to Dr. Tom Spicer. He was up for reappointment, and yes, I have an opinion because I'm the county liaison to the County Memorial Hospital, and I'll say something about Tom. He is a well-respected person, and he was the one that I personally would least not like to have replaced. However, the direction of that board, the total lack of conversation in public, lack of deliberation in public, was the issue for me. So, no, I was not a proponent of reappointing Dr. Spicer. I am saddened that had to have happened that way, but my recommendation was based upon the fact of making a functional board that spoke in public about issues and did their business in public. And to that end, Mr. Spicer was a valuable part of that board in a lot of ways, but in ways that need to have change, it was not beneficial. So it was not a reappointment. It was not a removal like had to happen on Tuesday to these two board members. It was just not a reappointment.
Okay, Kolb has said on at least one occasion that he was going to get rid of the current board because, as we see it, he was not successful in his bullying ways. It has been told to us by one of the other commissioners that they as a group have, quote, no control over John Kolb and the actions he takes, even though he takes those actions as a member of the commission. The other remaining members should have taken responsibility for the actions of not only the current liaison, but any prior one when it came to trying to control the hospital.
So they're talking about myself and Commissioner Reed West right there, because the prior liaison was Commissioner West. Oh, that's another bizarre way of saying something. Bullying ways. What exactly does that mean? Expressing a concern, expressing a view that the hospital was heading towards financial disaster, seeing that they were ill-informed about the facts, no desire to understand the facts, just to repeat what the CEO was telling them without reviewing those facts. Well, that is my elected job, to represent the people of this county in their best interest. And why? Because the asset, the County Memorial Hospital, is in jeopardy. Now, if doing something as an elected official is somehow wrong, well, then I suppose I'm wrong. But I don't feel that's what I was elected to do. I was not elected to do nothing. I was elected to evaluate and make the best decisions possible with the information I have. Now, there's no control over John Kolb. That's about a preposterous statement. None of us have any control over the other commissioners. We're all individuals, but we are not, in fact, the commission. We are commissioners. We are able to have our own opinions about things. That is part of being an individual commissioner and open debate and differences of opinion. I mean, that's to be expected. You want a group of people that are mindlessly saying the same thing over and over again, either yes or no? Well, that's a problem. That's dysfunctional government. Open debate, differences of opinion, are a fact of an active board. Now, someone would say, and they said, commissioners, well, this is one of these dark comments that somebody's indicating something. Well, if they knew something, they should indicate who that person is. I don't claim to have any control over Wally Johnson, and believe me, I've tried. Wally is uncontrollable, and I say that in a joking way. And same with Commissioner Van Meter, Wendling, and Commissioner West. We're all individuals, and I'll tell you, strong individuals. Nobody is going to do anything that's not in the greater good of the public's interest. Nobody's ever done that. And I will say deliberations have happened over just what to do about this situation individually with my co-commissioners to work a way forward. And this action didn't happen in a week. It happened over arguably a year. I mean, according to what they say, a year and 2 months, but a year, I'd say. There's been concerns about days cash on hand falling from 230, 232 days to 88 days. So, no, I think that's a misstatement. I know that's a misstatement. And that's an active board, and I will not apologize for doing what I was elected to do.
Okay, this next section talks about another action that was taken by the commissioners on Tuesday during the meeting, in which the hospital board was reduced from a 7-member to a 5-member. Reading from the letter, we both believe the commissioners also made a mistake when they chose to move the hospital board from 7 to 5 members. Only board members and the great employees at Memorial Hospital know the amount of time we spent at committee meetings and special meetings. Now, 5 must do the work of 7. This hospital is an important and critical county business. We firmly believe that the commissioners know it will be much easier to control 5 members, and that is too less people to convince to go along with their thinking.
Our hospital was in crisis. It continues to be in a crisis because they're trying to understand their exact financial position as we speak today. The board reduction was made, quite frankly, because we need a board that can conduct business, and a quorum for 5 is 3, and a quorum for 7 is 4. The action was taken for their ability to conduct business, nothing more, nothing less. It is never the intent of the Board of County Commissioners to control, or what was said in the past, micromanage anything. The people underneath us that we have direct responsibility for is the Board of Trustees of Memorial Hospital. There is no one else that can interact with them. We're the elected ones that appointed them. The authority we have was given to them to act as a Board of Trustees member of Memorial Hospital. So there was no, this isn't a commissioner sitting on the Board of Trustees. The Board of Trustees have to do their business. Now, they make the accusation that, 7 people could apparently barely do this work. Well, I don't know what was going on there, but it seemed like nobody knew anything in our meeting. Nobody could answer a question about what they were doing or why they were doing it. The answers were implausible, unbelievable, and so I don't buy that. We run the entire county as a fiduciary oversight, and we don't run the events complex or the libraries, but we have board members in place that do that for us on behalf of the citizens. So if 5 people can have oversight of all that, and I will say that a budget that totals almost $200 million in totality, includes the hospital budget of the authority to spend $90 million, then no, I think 5 people can handle this. And we have to refill those 2 other seats, in my mind, as quickly as possible with quality individuals that are going to be open and work for this county in a way that can be spoken about. And these subcommittee meetings, a secret subcommittee meeting is really the crux of the problem up there. Business conducted in these subcommittee meetings was not public. And then what was discussed then was supposed to be talked in public, and it didn't happen. I believe that leads to secrecy and lack of communication. How did they expend over $2 million for the ambulatory surgery center that never happened without any public knowledge? Now, these are the problems with these subcommittees they so talk about. I don't know, maybe they should do less subcommittees and more work.
The hospital has made big improvements over the past few years with the affiliation with the University of Utah Medical Center and their relationship with the hospital, including the wonderful additional services available to our patients with the Huntsman Cancer Center. The hospital also has an association with the Shriners Hospital for Children. Along with this, many specialty physicians have been hired, and these physicians have made the decision to stay and raise their families here in Southwest Wyoming. That benefits all of us.
Well, I think affiliations are a great thing. I think it's a great thing that we partner up and try to deliver the best quality services for the citizens of this county and the surrounding area. Why would I think it was anything less than that? I will tell you factually that the hospital board did not follow state statutes. That specifically indicates that any of these agreements had to be signed and agreed to by the Board of County Commissioners. Now, what that entails is our Board of Trustees comes up with a plan for an affiliation. They approach the Board of County Commissioners to say, we like this plan, and I don't know why anyone would be against this plan. Now, when it comes to the impact in the area, for what we brought to the area financially, that all has to be maintained financially. You can't spend more than you're receiving in revenues, as they've been doing. So the issue is we all want to deliver as many quality products of medical service to our people in our county that we can. But we can't survive and deliver more than we can afford. Dr. Dancy up there, I had a conversation with him about delivery of service, and he asked me a question. He said, what are we supposed to do? It was an honest question. And I said, first, the Board of Trustees makes those decisions together with the CEO. But I will tell you, you can't deliver more services than you can afford to. Do as much as you can with the money you have. That's, from an outsider, that I think is the best thing you could do. So they're going to have losers at the hospital, that specialties that just don't make money. But they're critical for the residents in the county to have. And you have to balance that with other things that do produce revenue so you can keep your business going. And that indeed is really the question here. It goes back to the fiduciary answer that was given earlier, that they have to be able to maintain services with revenues received.
And we'll just finish out the letter here. We would like to warmly thank our fellow board members, Jerry Klein, and all the wonderful, hardworking, dedicated employees at what we consider a top-notch hospital. These employees also involve themselves in many local community events and activities to better Sweetwater County. We would also like to extend a thank you to Attorney George Limich for his many years of service to the hospital. We both put our name in for this volunteer board because of our compassion and commitment to the healthcare in our county. Thanks to all of you who reached out to both of us the past few days with your words of thanks and encouragement. We do appreciate your support. And then it's signed sincerely, Artis Kalivas and Jean Carmody, prior board members of Memorial Hospital of Sweetwater County.
Well, I too would thank the people at that hospital, the physicians, support staff, and everything that goes into running a county memorial hospital. Without them, there is no hospital. And when it comes to, I suppose at the end of this, I'll state that if these members were so concerned, they'd been at the meeting. And they were not. So I don't know what to say about that. They're in control of their own destiny. I do thank all of our board members that volunteer their time. And I'll restate what I said earlier, that nobody goes on to these boards to be detrimental to the board. Everybody has the best interest of the community at heart. But sometimes things do not work out correctly. Sometimes things go awry. And when those things happen and the institution, in this case the County Memorial Hospital, is threatened with being taken over and managed by another firm, the Board of County Commissioners chose not to stand idly by. They chose to take action. I would ask that people would not shoot the messenger, but look at the message. The message is we have a problem, and what we're doing currently is trying to resolve that problem. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to this statement.